listening to LSU Daily with Matt Musso, your home for all things LSU sports.
Off and running here on another edition of LSU Daily. Welcome in. Glad to have you with me. Be sure to like, subscribe, share. Follow me on social media, Twitter, X, at Musso Matthew. You can find me on Facebook and on Instagram as well. All of that greatly appreciated. A few different things to get to today on the show. Kind of set up the bye week for LSU. I want to have a much deeper conversation when it comes to the safety position, because that's obviously going to be a hot topic throughout this week and leading in to the Ole Miss game. But I want to do that when I have a little bit more time. So that'll be later in the week, probably on the next show. What I want to do today and focusing in on LSU football is just kind of set up the bye week. Notable injuries maybe that you're keeping an eye on. Well, Brian Kelly spoke about the plan for the team as well. And some pretty notable offers went out in recruiting over the weekend for the class of 2027. And yes, I know that's a far piece off, but familiar names that you should know. And if you don't, names that should be put on your radar or, kind of early here right now, because you're going to be hearing a lot more about them as that cycle continues to go. Again, I know that's a long way off, but the names that were mentioned are worth passing along. The offers that were extended, I should say, are worth passing along. And then LSU basketball. Matt McMahon picked up a big recruit, big commitment on Monday afternoon. Want to touch on that and kind of how he might fit into the future roster as the men's basketball team. They gear up, get ready to start their season. They've begun practice. Won't be long now before we're talking hoops a little bit more regularly here as well. So again, get subscribed, like, share, all those things, and let's go ahead and dive right into it. We'll start with LSU football. We will start kind of with a brief preview of the bye week. Brian Kelly will meet with the media Tuesday after practice. Yes, that's right, after practice on the bye week. Something he said after the game on Saturday will be plentiful this week.
It's not really a recovery week. We're going to practice. We still have some real work to get done. We'll treat the second bye week as a recovery week. This will be a kind of a work week for us.
So a work week for the Tigers. And, it's interesting because we don't see the two-bye season very often. I personally like it. I wish you could kind of just institute that, especially if you're looking at, the expanded playoff and people want to talk about player safety and, having teams play that many games and adding extra games and all that. That's a much larger conversation. But, I mean, the one thing I don't ever really hear is people just talk about another bye week there. And I like the two bye week structure in a season. It's the first time it's happened since 2019. I just think, obviously, look, it definitely gives you needed extra recovery time. But even for a situation like this, it's more development potentially as well there. It adds another week into the season. More development, more recovery. I personally like it. And, if they're going to continue to add games and things of that nature, which they will, obviously, hopefully this is something that does become more commonplace. So LSU will go into their first bye week, and Brian Kelly says it's a work week. They have a lot of work to do. Obviously, kind of right off the top, we mentioned safety. That's going to be something you're keeping a close eye on, and I want to dive deeper into that when I have a little bit more time to do so. But that's first and foremost the position where everyone's really going to be watching. I'll tell you something else that's interesting as well to me, kind of maybe what they can get done on the bye week, is that linebacker. While Whit Weeks and Greg Penn played extremely well for you against South Alabama, and LSU played extremely well in that 4-2-5 in that game, obviously where they had struggled earlier in the season, I do wonder if there's more rotation that can happen there, potentially. Again, you played great. And you're going to go forward with that. And you're going to see probably a lot of that against Ole Miss anyway, just because of the style of offense that they run. But a guy like Xavier Atkins, can the development really ramp up for him and you potentially get him out onto the field in a three-linebacker set like Brian Kelly mentioned earlier when you were replacing Harold Perkins? That's just something to kind of look at. It's not, a major thing to work on, just something that I kind of, thought about there. If I had to point to one other major thing outside of safety, it would be the deep threat in the passing game. And that's where the Chris Hilton conversation comes in. And Chris Hilton was once again listed as probable ahead of the South Alabama game. He did not play in that game. He has missed the first 5 games of the season with that bone bruise. Brian Kelly was asked after the game about the status of Chris Hilton going into the bye week.
Again, I think this has been more about getting somebody that is at 100% than at 85, 90%. You know, we could have had him out there tonight, but we want him at 100%. And there was no sense of getting him out there tonight. And we felt like we had enough firepower, and we want him at 100%.
Okay, look, I can totally get down with that. I can totally understand that. We talk about it all the time, right? You know, have a guy full bore, ready to go when you must have him. And Brian Kelly even said right there, he could have gone against South Alabama, but it's a guy that you want to have at 100%, not 86 or whatnot. Okay, that's fine. But my worry and my counter to that with this situation specifically is you're dealing with that guy who is, you know, speed. And he has been out now for the first 5 weeks of the season, actually maybe even a little bit longer than that going back into camp. How much can you ramp him up in a bye week? Because it sounds like, from that answer, give him the extra week and have him ready to go for Ole Miss. Like, that's how I interpret that answer. So, how much can you actually ramp him up to have him full go? Because Brian Kelly, when talking about this Chris Hilton situation, this was going into the UCLA game when he was first listed as probable. And Kelly had mentioned, okay, you know, temper expectations. You know, he's not just going to come back in there and be all world, all Chris Hilton and stretch the field, you know, 8 times a game or whatever. It's going to take him some time to ease back in. And that's where I look at that and I go, okay, yeah, I can totally understand wanting a guy to be 100%, but you have now also exhausted every opportunity to ease him in. LSU needs a downfield threat in their passing game because they don't have it. And it's noticeable. And it changes the way teams cover you. Now, look, it hasn't mattered because you've been able to dominate with the intermediate to long passing game. And you had a couple moments throughout the season where you've stretched the field. There just hasn't been the consistency like there was, say, last year with a guy like Brian Thomas. And you do need that. That's the one dimension that's missing from this offense. And going into the SEC schedule, you need that. Because there is no fear from any team that Kyron Lacey can separate from you. There is no fear from any team that C.J. Daniels is going to separate deep from you. You've seen it from Aaron Anderson. You've seen it from Kyle Parker, but not consistently. So if it's not Chris Hilton, like if you can't have Chris Hilton ready to go and he's, you know, can just go out there and give you snaps, like meaningful snaps against Ole Miss, somebody else has to step into that role. So who else can emerge in this bye week? Because I'm hearing you say you want to get Chris Hilton to 100% and have him ready to go, but I've also heard you say it's going to take time to ramp him back up and have him, you know, full go even when he is 100%. So who else can step up into that role? And it's a question we've been asking all season long. You've heard Shelton Sampson. You've heard Kyle Parker. None of those guys have been able to do it consistently yet. So that's something I really want to potentially see emerge. Not potentially. That's something I want to see emerge coming out of this bye week. Whether it's Sampson, whether it's Parker, whether it's Chris Hilton. But that is something LSU desperately needs in this offense to really take the passing game to the next level. Because when you get into the SEC, it's going to be tougher to just completely move the ball down the field, throwing without a deep threat. Not saying it's impossible, but it is going to be tougher because the competition you're facing is going to be better. So safety is the big thing on defense where you want to see him continue to work. Deep threat for me on offense is the big area. And then, obviously, look, continue to improve in the running game. You took a huge step going forward against South Alabama. You saw the light boxes, kind of like we had talked about, where, look, South Alabama knows that their biggest weakness was the secondary. LSU's biggest strength was the passing game. Were they going to really try to play some coverage there and take it away? They did, and LSU ran the ball for 200 yards. That's great. Like, everyone's been wanting to see that. And you mixed it up a little bit in the running game, too. continue to get better. That's the first time all year you've seen LSU just be able to run the ball, not have to get the yards and they're able to finally run it. Run the ball. So build off of that. Again, you're going to face a much better front against Ole Miss than you did against South Alabama, but that's why you continue to work. Safeties, deep threat, those are my two biggest things this week. And again, we'll go more in depth on the safeties later in the week and tell you kind of who maybe is the leader in the clubhouse there to get those starting spots, because Brian Kelly said this week it's time to figure out who starts at safety. Like, no more of the rotation. They're going to tighten up that rotation. It's going to be, all right, who we trust the most, who can go out there and win, help us win SEC football games. That's Brian Kelly's goal. That's what he said from his mouth. We'll see how it goes this week. Shifting gears a little bit to some LSU recruiting. Let's talk the 2027 class. I know, like I said off the top as well, it's a long way away, but there's three names to really throw out, and they're all quarterbacks, and it just illustrates the current trend at quarterback for LSU. Obviously, look, you went from Jaden Daniels now into Garrett Nussmeier, and you have the number one quarterback in the country, and Bryce Underwood committed for the class of 2025, and he seems about as solid can get. You're working on the 2026 class, but you're also working on the 2027 class. And over the weekend and even Monday, LSU handed out offers to three of the top quarterbacks in the class of 2027. Obviously, the one that's going to grab the most headlines is number one quarterback in America for that class. That's Elijah Haven out of the Dunham School right here in Baton Rouge. And he has been on the radar for a very long time. And I think a lot of people would be like, oh, I thought he already had the offer. Well, now it's official. And I'll tell you this, the timing was fun. So the offer was made late Friday night. Dunham played their game on Thursday last week. Late Friday night, the offer comes from LSU. Elijah Haven spent this past weekend in Tuscaloosa for the Alabama-Georgia game. So interesting timing there, where he's going to one of your biggest rivals, and you happen to slide the offer right in there. I'm sure just coincidence. Obviously not making sure you're on his mind as soon as he leaves for that trip. Purely coincidence, but nice coincidence, albeit. He's been incredible so far in high school. I mean, look, this guy's a sophomore, but already the number one quarterback there, has done him rocking and rolling here in Baton Rouge just from a standpoint there. So that's a huge one. Like, guy in your own backyard who has grown up his whole life, LSU, massive. And it's a massive advantage that you have him here. The recruitment there will continue. The other one is number 3 quarterback in the country, Colton Nussmeier. Yes, that is the younger brother of Garrett Nussmeier and a rising star in the 2027 cycle. He received his official offer from LSU on Saturday morning from OC Joe Sloan. He's a lefty, so there's a little bit of a difference from Nussmeier, but 6'3", 185, out of Flower Mound there in Texas, goes to Marcus High School, and he's starting to really see colleges show up now in his sophomore year as he's starting to kind of set the world on fire over there. So, look, that'd be cool. I mean, look, you have the in-state guy who's the number 1 player in the country. You have the legacy guy who's the number 3 quarterback in the country as well. And then Trent Seaborn is a top 10 quarterback in America. He's an Alabama native, and LSU also extended an offer to him over the weekend as well. So that's 3. That's 3 right there. He's been to LSU in person. LSU has also visited him in person as well. So they have really turned up the heat already on 3 of the top signal callers in the class of 2027. And what's awesome is something you normally wouldn't have said is you expect LSU to get at least one of them. I mean, with the way things have been going at quarterback for LSU, not just on the field, but in recruiting and all that works in hand, like, you expect them to get one of those guys. And boy, do you have a hell of a pick to choose from. Bye weeks are always big for recruiting, and the staff will hit the trail hard for a class of 25, 26, and 27 here this week. All right, let's switch gears to LSU hoops, but obviously keep it recruiting. Matt McMahon and company land a big commitment on Monday afternoon from 4-star guard Mazi Mosley for the class of 2025. He's a top top 100 player in the country, ranked 62nd nationally, as a matter of fact, by the On3 composite. The 13th ranked player in Florida. He's a shooting guard, 6'5", 165. Originally out of California, but is transferring to Montverde Academy in Florida for his final year. That should sound plenty familiar. Obviously, Ben Simmons came out of that school, played his last year there, and obviously Curtis Givens, who's a freshman at LSU for this coming season, also came from Montverde. Mosley's fresh off his official visit to LSU just a little bit over a week ago. Also took visits to USC, Iowa, and Michigan, but chose the Tigers. Had nothing but high and exciting things to say about Matt McMahon and his staff as well. He's also friends with Victorious Miller, who's a freshman guard at LSU, coming in this season as well. So there's the connection there too. This is just a big get. LSU is going to need to replace some guys in their backcourt after the 2024-2025 season. You look at Jordan Sears, fifth-year senior in his last year of eligibility. Jai Bailey, grad student as well. Cam Carter is not part of COVID year classes, so it's going to be his. That's three guys right there that you'll have to replace. So backcourt's going to be a big spot there going forward for LSU and for Matt McMahon. And Mazi Mosley is the first addition. Again, like I said, second commit for the class of 2025, second top 100 players. He joins forward Matthew Gilhool. It's coming. The Tigers' season is creeping up, and expectations are starting to return for LSU and Matt McMahon, and that is a great thing. I mean, look, you went through the first year and you just took your lumps. Last year, you saw them make strides after a really rough start where they lose to Nichols and get run off the field at Dayton and things of, in Syracuse, lose a close one to Dayton. Things of like the non-conference was rough. But then you saw them really take strides. You upset Kentucky. You got to 9 wins in Conference 500. It is very realistic to believe that this is the year now where they get back to the big dance. You made the NIT. Like, this is the year to get back to the big dance. So exciting times. You have a top 10 recruiting class coming in for this season already that's going to be out there on the floor. There's just a lot of reason to be excited for LSU basketball and Matt McMahon. Mazi Mosley joining the class of 2025. Just another reason. So that's your latest update there. Tigers are on the court practicing. They tip off the season officially Wednesday, November 6th when they host ULM in the PMAC. So we will have much more coverage of the Tiger Hoops team coming for you here in the future. Y'all smash the like, get subscribed, like, share, all those things. Follow me on Twitter. Follow me on Facebook, Instagram. Greatly appreciated, and be here next time for more on LSU Daily.